We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
If there's one thing Americans have become good at spotting in recent years, it's a good old-fashioned piece of grifting. Whether that's BLM buying multi-million-dollar mansions for unspecified but absolutely essential reasons, or folks like attorney Ben Crump turning up at every high-profile shooting, ready to claim racism and demand the big bucks. Are we just becoming more inured to these grifts? Or are they just becoming more blatant? Well, the latest grift from Mr. Sean King pushes even those suspended in ideological belief to the edges of their acceptance. To discuss, we're joined by constitutional attorney, Liberty Nation's legal affairs editor, and host of the excellent Uprising podcast, Mr. Scott D. Cosenza Esquire. Welcome back, Scott.
Thank you, Mark.
So tell me, Scott, what notable grift is Mr. Sean King involved in this time?
So Sean King, for people who don't, whose name doesn't immediately call to who this person is known derisively online by those of us who criticize him as Talcum X. He is the fake black guy that runs several sort of social justice movement PACs and things where he's able to earn what seems like a quite handsome living from the donations of people who are interested in seeing racism abated in the United States. And that's sort of his principal grift. The recent case, Mark, involves the purchase of a fantastically expensive dog to the tune of $40,000 for a special type of attack show dog from this trainer that does like security dog training, some type of mastiff that the King family was welcoming into their home.
Okay, and I believe there has been a turnabout in this story already, Scott. What is that?
Oh, and by the way, this is the Real Justice PAC that paid for this dog, which is an organization that King helms and that he has said that he takes no salary from. And of course, the reason why he says that he takes no money or no salary from it, I actually fell into the trap there because he didn't say that he didn't take money from it. He said that he didn't take a salary. Or a wage, right? Yeah. So it's convenient, I suppose, if you don't take a salary from an organization, but they buy you a $40,000 dog. In this case, the dog didn't even work out. They had to return the dog to the trainer because it was too quote unquote spirited, apparently, for the King family.
You pay $40,000 for an attack dog, which I'm sure was a lovely dog. Obviously, it's very rarely the problems with the dog. It's usually the problems with the owners. And yet they return it for being too spirited.
Well, I went to the trainer's website, Mark, and they seem to train them to be, aggressive. Obviously, only with the right people, but they're instilling aggression. And they start with dogs that are known for sometimes having problems with people who aren't expert trainers, like these Mastiffs and the Cane Corso. Dogs that often, by the way, are forbidden from ownership by insurance policies and homeowners associations because of their reputation of attacking, especially children.
So what do you think? Obviously, this is going to be a bit of speculation, Scott, but what do you think the people who have donated their hard-earned dollars to such a political PAC and now it's being cast out in favor of buying Mr. King and his family a $40,000 dog that he decides is too spirited? Let's get rid of it.
I have been for over a year now on the Real Justice PAC mailing list, and I can tell you that the appeals for funds come sometimes daily, sometimes multiple times a day to donate for the purpose of advancing a society that doesn't have racism at its core. And
so, Scott, I have to interrupt you here. How specifically, in words of 2 syllables or less, if possible, does a $40,000 dog purchase help remove racism from society?
I'm speechless at that one, Mark. I'm going to give you like the sideways dog view, like the confused sideways head tilt.
Yeah, I'll throw you a treat.
Right.
So these calls for money come in fast and furious, and surely the donors must get a regular accounting of what these.
They don't get I don't think they get a belly rub. They don't get. They don't
nor a belly rub. So no direct accounting. No.
They get
belly
the
rub.
satisfaction of knowing that they've helped Mr. King advance his lot in life.
Well done to Mr. King. Let's all feel sorry for beautiful dogs, because dogs are all beautiful. Now, moving on.
It's got to be better than real work, Mark.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's better than a real job. Moving on slightly to another story that really has my attention and interest peaked here is that a number of big tech companies, these huge multinationals, they're calling for an extension of affirmative action. Now, the 80s is calling and it wants its policies back, Scott. But surely if affirmative action worked, it would have worked by now, or am I misunderstanding it?
That's the Sandra Day O'Connor view, actually, Mark. She famously said in her last affirmative action case that, she wasn't sure when we would still need it, but we still need it now, but perhaps not in like 20 years. And I think now we're well beyond that mark from when she discussed it that way. That's right. The story is about how these major companies, including Google and others, have signed on to an amicus brief in the big affirmative action case that is coming before the Supreme Court in the fall, and they are all arguing for affirmative action that they want and need it, according to them. These higher education, these institutions of higher education to discriminate on the basis of race. That's what this is about.
So surely these companies, if they believe that affirmative action is still needed, there's something they can do about that, no?
Certainly, there's something they can do about it. But it's funny because when you read their brief, it's actually pretty naked, Mark. They just say we want to hire people that are different colors, right? But also come from these elite institutions. And so, without the universities discriminating on the basis of race, it'll make it harder then for these companies to fill their own ranks with preferred colors. And so that's the reason for their support. It's plain as day. I mean, they're not hiding that. That's what they state.
As we're in the realms of redefining things, it seems that diversity is now the same opinion, but with a different skin color.
Exactly. Mark, there is one more quick detail for the affirmative action cases, which is that the Supreme Court has separated their cases. They had joined a case from Harvard and North Carolina together to rule on them, but because of Ketanji Brown Jackson, the new Supreme Court justice, her affiliation with the Harvard University, they've split the cases, and so she's going to be able to rule on the North Carolina one while recusing herself from the Harvard one. The long and short of this means that she will be an active participant in the affirmative action ruling, and we can expect that the rule going forward will include her as a voting justice.
Okay, that's something to look forward to, I guess. Now, one more story that I want to cover ever so quickly, Scott, is in Houston, Texas, a gun buyback scheme. Now, I don't quite understand why it's a buyback because the government didn't sell you the gun in the first place. A gentleman made quite the killing, to use a phrase, by printing up dozens of so-called ghost guns on a 3D printer, taking them down and selling them basically to the government for $150 a pop. What's your take on that?
This anonymous and yet heroic American, Mark, has really done a world of good. He said he made these printable guns for $3 a piece and sold them for $50 each, which is what the city of Houston was offering as their buyback. And I agree with you, and thank you for pointing that out. It's always frustrating when people say, buyback. They never owned them in the first place.
Buy back better. It's a new campaign slogan.
It was a great demonstration of the farce of the whole thing. I think we've discussed before, I've been to some of these big buyback events, and instead of the sort of dangerous young thug type people who one would hope would be turning in guns for cash at these events, it's people who are demographically nonviolent and turning in junk guns for money.
Junk guns for profit. The America, land of the free, home of the brave, and the land of opportunity if you dare to take it. Scott DeCosenza, thanks ever so much.
Thank you, Mark. Cheers.
Now, don't go anywhere. Coming up after this short break, we talk CRT and music and why it's a blossoming time for cultural Marxism. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
I think we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fight for freedom.
They be tracking poll sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.